Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all.
Hey babes, have you ever had a dream that's come true, or are you a vivid dreamer, or do you have reoccurring dreams? I know I do, and I want to share a dream that I had, but first let's watch a few TikTok compilations of other people sharing their stories of dreams that they had that just seemed way too real.
I'll go first. About 7 years ago, I had a friend pass away. About 6 months after he passed away, he visited me in a dream. Though it wasn't like any dream I've ever had before, and I am convinced I'm not a religious person or anything, but I was certainly visited by a spirit guide. I am wholly convinced that that was what visited me. Told several of my friends this story through Facebook messages. This is in 2017. And I'll share those right here, what those Facebook messages said. But basically, I was standing next to my bed. This was like the dream. I was standing next to my bed, and there was a woman in all white. She had brown hair. She was like maybe 5'6" or something. She looks at me, and it was so weird because it was as if we were talking, like having a conversation, but no words were being exchanged. She puts her hand on my shoulder. She stands behind me, puts her hand on my shoulder, and all of a sudden in my room is my friend that passed away. And he's wearing what he was wearing at his wake, which is so freaky. And he says, "Hey bud, how's it going?" Something like that. And then I ran into his arms, like crying, and I kept saying, "I'm so sorry," just for the way that he passed away. I was like, "I'm so sorry." And he's like, "It's okay, bud." And I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "I don't know. You're the first person they've let me see." Oh my god, I just got chills. And I think I said something like, "Who?" And then the lady put her hand on my shoulder again, and I just like jolted awake. And I'm not wholly convinced that was a dream, so let me know if you guys want to hear any of my other freaky stories, because I certainly have quite a few.
Yeah, my dream was I went to, I guess, the ghost realm and they tried to keep me there while I was dreaming. I was 3 years old. I was in the hospital. I had to get surgery for my polydactyly, which is me having extra fingers and toes. I had them on both of my hands and on my foot. They removed the extra fingers. I got a little nub right here. They removed the extra fingers at birth. However, I still needed to get the toe removed because I couldn't wear shoes or things like that, because I couldn't fit the toe unless they were too big. I couldn't fit my shoes with an extra toe, so I had to get it removed. And when I was in the hospital, I had a roommate, but the roommate went home earlier. It was a little girl that I knew, that I grew up with. Later on, we ended up being really good friends. However, she went home before I did, and I was still stuck there. I went to sleep. I woke up, but I could tell that I was still in a dream. I was dreaming. I woke up in my dream. Like I could see myself in the bed, and I woke up. In a dream, I looked at myself. Oh, I'm dreaming, and I see, oh, I got a roommate, another girl, and she was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, do you want to play with my Play-Doh?" Because I had Play-Doh. I was a kid. I had Play-Doh in the room. She was like, "No, I want to walk around the hospital." So I followed her because I'm dreaming. I followed her around the hospital. We're running. We're playing all through the hospital, but we're getting further and further and further away from my room. She's drawn me further out, but we're still playing. I ran into one room and it was an older lady there, and basically she looked at me and she was like, "You're not supposed to be back here. Get back. They're trying to trick you. They're trying to keep you." So I believed her. Oh, excuse me, got something in my throat. I believed her. I ran back to my room. Let me get some water. So I'm running back to my room. I get back there in time. I jump. I see my body on the bed. I jump back in my body, and I wake up. It was morning. As soon as I jumped back in, oh, it's morning. But I had just been running through the hospital, and it was completely dark, and the lady scared me, so that's why I got back. And so, my mom comes in the room. She was working. She was working that night, and so she came in the room in the morning, but so she can spend some time with me versus being on the other side of the hospital. So I tell my mother what happens, and she's like, "Oh," and I described the lady to her. She was like, "Oh, that sounds like you're describing Miss So and so." She picked me up because in my dream I could walk, but I couldn't walk because I had just had surgery on my foot, so I had to be carried. So my mother carried me, and she carried me to the lady's room to show me that the lady wasn't there. The lady had already passed away. And my mother was very comfortable telling me that because she's just comfortable with those type of things. She's comfortable around death. She never hid death from us or anything like that. But basically the lady had passed away, and my mother explained to me that the ghosts were trying to trap me wherever the other world was, and the lady was helping me get back. And that's what my mother also told me, like, I have to be careful about traveling in my sleep. And I have talked to a lot of other psychics and mediums after that. Apparently I am a traveler and I take off in my dreams, so I always have to be careful and get back so I don't get lost. Now I kind of, if I'm traveling in my dreams and I know that I'm traveling, I have to leave myself kind of like breadcrumbs to get back, especially if it's somewhere new. When I know it's one of those type of dreams, because there were other things in that dream to let me know that it was a different type of dream, but I was just too young to understand it at the time. So yeah, little girl tried to snatch me up into this other ghostly world.
So this is a true story. Like, this legitimately happened. I have a couple of witnesses, and there is a news article because, like, I know for a fact this wasn't just a dream. Like, everything that happened in my dream happened in real life. I just didn't know. But, like, the way this unfolded. So I go to sleep, and I just have a normal dream. I sleep throughout the whole night. And when I wake up, my boyfriend wakes up with me, and he's like, thank God you're up. Can we go get coffee? I slept like crap all night. I was up all night. I was actually getting kind of jealous because you look so damn peaceful. Like... So I'm like, yeah, I just had this crazy cliffhanger ending of a dream. I hate those. Let me tell you about it. He's like, all right, cool. So I'm making us coffee. We're sitting down getting comfy, and I'm telling him about my dream. I'm flying above the clouds. Eventually I get bored, and I'm like, is it an ocean, a city? What's underneath me? So I go through the clouds, and I notice I am over an ocean. And directly under me, traveling in the same direction, is a bridge going into a city. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I get closer and closer, and I notice there's actually a car traveling the same everything but altitude as me. And then I kind of scan further on the bridge now that it's coming more in view and I can see. There's only one other vehicle on this bridge. It's an 18-wheeler, and that's leaving the city, so they're going to pass each other. The problem, as I'm getting closer, I'm noticing the semi-truck is swerving a lot. And I'm like, ooh, this is not going to end well. So as fast as I can, I'm trying to get to this car. My idea is I'm going to make myself big and hug the car and protect it. The problem is when I got to the car, I couldn't make myself big. So I felt like I have to choose. I only have enough time for one thought, and that thought was, this baby is the only one in this scenario that has not had a chance to live. I finally make it to the car. I wrap my body around the exposed part of the car seat, and as soon as I grab onto the back of this car seat, instantly, the baby starts screaming in my face. And I'm like, thank God, baby's okay. You know how in a dream you just know things without having to look at them? Something in me said, Mom didn't survive this. And then I kind of tried to focus on the truck. And it looked like the driver was passed out on his steering wheel. He was barely hanging on, but he was alive. I, out of sheer panic, I just start screaming, help us, someone please help us. And then boom, I wake up. So I share this with him, and he's like, you're weird and you have weird dreams. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Literally 2 minutes later, my sister calls and she's like, hey, I'm off today. I'm like, oh, cool, we are too. And she's like, oh, well, put me on speaker. I'm reading news articles and I want somebody to talk to about them. I'm like, all right, go ahead. She picks a random ass article. Tell me why. This article was my fucking dream. It was about a car accident that happened on a bridge in New York, like 3 a.m. Mind you, I'm in Michigan. My boyfriend was up all throughout the night. I was here. I was in my bed in Michigan dreaming, okay? There's no way I could have been on this bridge at 3 a.m. and made it back to my bed, even if he was sleeping through the night. And just imagine I still wouldn't have made it here on time to wake up and have coffee and get this phone call. I would not have been here on time. So my sister gets through the article and I explained to her my dream because my boyfriend and I are just staring at us. He was terrified. I was shook, but not the same way that he was. My sister gets to the end and she's like, somebody called 911. And even though it was only a couple of seconds they were on the phone because it got disconnected, They sent emergency services to that location, and they were able to save the truck driver and the infant. They were able to save them, you guys. So they post this clip because they're trying to find who it is that called, because essentially that's the person that saved these lives. So they want to thank them appropriately. We were not prepared. My sister hits play. Tell me why we hear my voice screaming, help us, someone please help us. And then right after that, when I wake up, same time that call ended. This is a very, very true story. It happened like 10, 11 years ago. I do not have the article anymore, or I would insert here. But yeah, no, that really happened. And I can't explain it 10, 11 years later. What was that?
That's so crazy, and I wish that she had given us a little bit more of a time frame, because I would definitely try to look that article up just so if we can hear the audio after hearing her tell the story, if the voices do in fact match. I'm not saying that her story isn't true. I do believe that it's possible, but I would just like to hear it.
Like, this I know for sure was not a dream. And this happened about 10 years ago. And honestly, I just started telling people this story because when I talked about it 10 years ago, people thought I was crazy. The reason why I'm comfortable telling it now is because there's a lot more people open to this sort of thing now. But anyways, I was in my bed asleep and I had to work in the morning, so I was knocked out. Next thing I remember is waking up, but my body's not up, and I hear this loud ringing in both my ears, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what this is. So I close my eyes tight because I'm like, this is sleep paralysis, and if I open my eyes, I'm going to see a sleep paralysis demon, and I did not want to see a sleep paralysis demon because I've never seen one. So I keep my eyes super duper tight. And so the next thing I remember is open my eyes, I get up, and I am up. I'm like, all right, cool. No. I turn around, and I'm asleep in the motherfucking bed. First and foremost. Yes. I'm asleep in the bed. So I'm like, well, what is happening? Now, my phone is on the floor next to my bed, charging. I grab my phone, and I'm like panicking, like, whoa. I gotta call my grandma, because how do I get back in my body? And so I remember grabbing my phone, I'm running down my stairs. Now, how I know this was not a dream, because dreams are super weird. Like, when you're in your bedroom, you might start out in your bedroom, you leave your room, you end up in like a cafeteria or a swimming pool or something like that. When I tell you that everything in my room, it was literally like I opened my eyes, and that is my house. Nothing off. That was my house. To a T. There was nothing dreamlike about this. I'm running down the stairs, opening up my front door and sitting on the little stoop in front of my front door and thinking to myself, how am I going to figure out how I'm going to get back in my body? I'm really outside sitting there thinking how I'm going to get back inside of my body when I walk back up these stairs. So I finally go back inside. I walk up the stairs, I go back in my room. Now, I had a Scentsy wax melter that I had got from somebody I worked with. I ordered through Scentsy, and it illuminated my room, like, not super bright, but it was bright enough to where it was a nice ambiance in the room. And an agent of mine had got me a Bible, and on my dresser next to the Scentsy melter was this Bible. And because of how illuminated the room was from the Scentsy melt, I see the Bible. And when I look at this Bible, I have an idea pop in my head. The idea that pops in my head tells me to lay down inside my body. So guess what? I lay down inside my body. And once I lay down inside my body, I wake the fuck up in real life. And I am shook to my core. I am so scared. I'm 100% sure that this was not a dream. And it was not a dream. Nobody could ever convince me that that was a dream. That was real life. To the point that I roll over, grab my phone, and go through my call logs to see if I did, in fact, call my grandmother. Now that I'm older and I've heard of astral projection, I realize that's what that was. 10 years ago, I did not know too much about it, and a lot of people were not open to the idea of that. So when I did tell people, they thought I was insane. But now, knowing what I know now, I know that I astral projected inside my house. And I haven't done that. I haven't astral projected since To be honest, it was really scary, so I'm kind of glad I did not. But in that house, it wasn't haunted, it wasn't negative vibes, but I feel like I did have a spiritual awakening, because that was not the only thing super duper trippy that happened to me in that house. Like, majority of the trippy stuff that happened to me was in that house, in my first apartment. So I feel like I actually did have a spiritual awakening in that house. But yeah, that was not a dream. That was real life.
Ooh, I got a good one. So this is not my dream. This is a dream that my husband had, but it goes with everything I'm about to tell you. So for as long as I can remember, I have always had a secret fear of mirrors. Can't really explain what it is, but I just know that there are some days when I am in the mirror, I feel as though the person that is looking back at me is not me. And I cannot explain to you why I feel that way. Just know I feel that way. And I never brought this up to anybody because literally what I'm saying, I'm fine with the man in the mirror, like, but I continue to go through life. And one day me and my husband are laying in bed. He's asleep. I'm laying on his chest. We're real cozy. Okay. Until all of a sudden he is shaking, like gyrating. All right. It's almost like he's having sleep paralysis. I think that's what it's called. Like he's trying to wake himself up, but he cannot. So being the good wife that I am, I decided I need to save my man. Let me wake him up. Babe, wake up. He finally wakes up and he just like, yo, I just had one of the most scariest dreams. He proceeds to tell me about his dream. It was exactly how we were laying. We were in the bed. I was on his chest. We was cozy. Chill. He says suddenly our room door began to open very, very slowly. So as he's looking at the door, I'm asleep on his chest, all right? So he's looking at the door, and as the door is opening, he said he sees me in the doorway. And I'm serving a mean, creepy smile. So naturally, he is scared because he's like, if you on my chest, who the hell is this in the doorway? So my baby began to fight for his life. I guess he was beating both our ass because he didn't know who to beat. And honestly, I don't blame him because when he told me that story, I legit got goosebumps. I got chills because prior to him telling me this, I was already having my own little episode with my bathroom mirror. There's something weird going on, something strange in the neighborhood for sure.
Quick story time. When I was in second grade, we lived in this house in Mattapan. So if you're from Boston, you know where Mattapan is. We lived in this house in Mattapan, and I've always had spiritual experiences, and I still to this day have them very regularly. And I remember I was in the bathroom brushing my teeth, and for whatever reason, I made a scary face in the mirror. I don't know why. I didn't even think about doing it. I just did it. And later that night, I woke up. I used to wake up every night at midnight. Like without fail, I would wake up every night at midnight. And I would hear the water running in the bathroom, but I never went to go check it. I just knew that I shouldn't. I just ignored it and tried to go back to sleep. But that night when I woke up, I jumped up and I saw the same scary face that I made in the mirror coming at me. Freaked me out.
Okay, I ran to film this and I have Kovu, my storytelling buddy, with me. I have this crazy dream experience where from the ages of about 8 to 11, I was having this recurring dream that ended up really changing my beliefs and the trajectory of my life. So from about 8 to 10, 11 years old, I'm having this recurring dream, and it will go through a specific part of the dream, and of course I'll wake up, and then a few months later it'll pick up where it left off. We get to the end of the dream a few months later, it starts over again. And in this dream, I'm in what I now believe is Europe during the witch trials, and I'm seeing everything from my perspective as if I am there and I am living it. And it starts with me looking down at my hands, and I am preparing some form of herbal medicine. And there is a woman sitting next to me, and she has come to me because she needs something to help her calm down. I remember reaching and grabbing chamomile, and I'm in the shed that's in my backyard. And I look to my right, and I just see eyes peeking through the window, looking at me, and then they take off running when they see that I have seen them. So immediately, my heart sinks. I know what probably just occurred. I tell the woman I think I was just caught. I tell her I think that she will be fine. Oh, storyteller buddy has left, but he was with us for the beginning. And I finish her remedy. I give her a hug. She tells me she hopes everything's going to be okay. I tell her don't worry about it. She pays me. She gives me a few coins. And then I send her away and immediately go and grab my go bag that I have already packed in case something like this were to occur. I get my go bag and I immediately take off running into the woods that are behind my house. And I would run for what felt like forever. There would be nights where the entire dream would just be me running through these woods until I finally get to an abandoned building that's in the middle of the woods. And I go into this abandoned building and I look to my left and I see my cousin. And it is my cousin that I have in real life now, but in real life, my cousin is several years older than me. And in this dream, she's several years younger than me and is only like a 8 to 10-year-old child that was my age when I was having this dream. And she's fallen and she's hurting her head and is clearly bleeding. And I go to her and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? What happened? Are you okay? And she tells me she fell when she was running in the woods and she came straight there because she knew I would be there. And then she starts crying and she goes, it was me. I'm so sorry. I turned you in. It was me. I'm the reason that they know. And so I take a deep breath and I tell her, it's okay. Calm down. I know that they probably were questioning you and you were scared and I'm not mad at you and I forgive you and, everything's going to be okay. And I rip a piece of my dress off. I cover her wound and I give her a hug and I say, you need to go home if you're feeling okay. You need to go back to your mom because if anyone comes looking for me, I don't want you here getting yourself into trouble. So I give her a hug, tell her everything's gonna be okay again, and I send her off, and then I unpack. I try to settle my nerves because my plan is to continue running when the sun rises the next day. And I settle in for the night. The sun begins to set. I fall asleep. I wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of people outside talking, and I know I've been caught. And I remember this frantic feeling and running around, searching in this abandoned building, trying to find a back exit or a back window, and I can't find a way out. And I accept I'm gonna have to, not be taken by force or anything. So I go out the front door. I turn myself in. I say that they can take me. Long story short, I'm found guilty. There's witnesses. I'm deemed a witch and sentenced to death. Trigger warning, I do see the way that I pass in this dream. I remember walking out and stepping up on a stool, and I have a bag put over my head and a rope around my neck, and the dream would always end with me feeling them removing the stool and everything tightening, and I would wake up gasping for air. And of course, I'm really young. I tell my mom about these dreams. Anytime they're happening again, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had the dream again, and my mom validates me, and she totally believes me and thinks it's really bizarre. Fast forward, I'm in like 8th grade, and I go to the local crystal store with my aunt and my cousin. This is a different cousin than the one that's in the dreams, and my mom. We love this crystal store. We go there all the time, and this is the first time we walk in. There's a sign that says past life readings. My cousin immediately gets excited and is like, oh my gosh, we have to do this. I have this ghost that I see all the time. I really want to learn more about it. Let's go and talk to him. So we sit down to talk to him. We have this wonderful conversation about her experiences, and he gives her all these incredible details and facts. And then he looks at me and he goes, I'm getting a vibe from you. What's going on with you? I'm sensing something. Immediately the dream pops into my head and I say, well, I have been having this really bizarre reoccurring dream. I start telling him about the dream. We get to the point where I'm on the run. He stops me and is able to tell me everything that happens in my dream in great detail, down to the color of my cousin's hair, which by the way is red. My hair's not red. I have no idea where he would have pulled that out from. He knows that she's hurt herself. He knows all these minute details. We go back and forth. I keep giving him details. He feeds me back more details. And it is this insane experience. I'm completely baffled. And he says, yeah, I believe that these are memories of your past life. You are remembering what happened to you and how you passed away in your past life. And ever since then, it has really, I don't want to say changed the trajectory of my life, but definitely really hit my core and stuck with me and changed some of my beliefs and has been a really incredible experience. And I've never had the dream again since we got to the bottom of that, but I obviously still think about it a lot. And that's my dream that I guess was memories, not a dream.
In my dream, I think I was in a car. I'm not entirely sure. I might have been driving, and I think we were going through a tunnel. And I think actually it was just me, but I was going through a tunnel and I was running away from something. And then that something caught up to my window and it looked like this burned, what used to be a person, but just completely burned. And when it caught up to me and I looked at it, it looked at me and it said, but in Spanish, and I'll translate it after, but it said, no nos querías oír, puta. And then it said, pues ahora nos puedes oír. And then it had this evil, evil laugh. And then in English, that was like something like, oh, didn't you want to hear us? Bitch. And then it was like, now you can hear us. And it laughed this super evil laugh. And I don't even remember how the dream ended. I think I woke up in that moment and I was just yelling like, no, you're not allowed here. You're not allowed here. You're not welcome. And then I ran to the living room to watch something funny. I think it was The Office. I don't know, some comfort show. And at the time, and I don't know if this is the reason for my dream, but I had just started my podcast. It was like episode, I don't know, 9. Like it was very early, and we were researching something that is like a shape-shifting creature, but in Mexico, and it appears to be very evil, scary, and I don't know if that's why I had this dream. But the reason it was so scary to me is because my mom always told us the story of her hunting. It was the scariest thing to me ever, and it still is. But she was haunted by this thing that appeared to be a burned person, and it would cry to her every night, like "Ayúdame, help me." Um, it was just it's so scary, and it lasted like a year. And when I saw that burn thing in my dream, I thought, oh my God, what if it's the burn thing in her dream? And that really scared me. And yeah, that was my scary dream. And it's weird because I never remember any of my dreams.
Okay, so I love this because I'm one of those people that I believe that dreams are messages. So I'll probably make a few of these, but this one dream in particular, um, one time I was just having like some challenging moments in life. So before I went to bed, I prayed. I was like, Lord, can you give me some clarity about what's going on in my life? And I went to sleep. So in the dream, I'm in my car and I pull into the church that I grew up in and I park. And then I'm there about a minute or two, not too long, and then a black truck pulls in beside me. And so I look over to my right and I realize that it's my grandfather in the truck. Keep in mind, my grandfather passed when I was a baby, but I recognized him, from pictures, and my mom looks just like her dad, so I knew it was him. So I jumped out and I ran around the other side of my car where he was, and then he gets out of the truck. He has a suit on, and he asks, "Hey, are you doing okay? Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "No," and I just spill and I'm telling him all this stuff. And then in the dream, we are giggling, we are laughing. It looks like we are very much like catching up on like my life and what's happening. Just again giggling, smiling. And then I go back around, like I give him a hug, I go back around and get in my car. And then I'm waving, he's waving at me, and like I back out and I start to like drive off. And then we're just like waving and smiling at each other. So I wake up, I feel much better the next day because it's like, wow, like it's so nice to like connect with like a grandparent. And so the next day I asked my mom, I'm like, hey, did your dad like have a truck? And she's like, yeah. And she describes it, same truck from the dream. And so I take it a step further and I ask him, like, hey mom, what kind of suit was he in when he was buried? And my mom told me, and it's the exact same suit that he was wearing. So that was just really comforting to me. Um and but lo and behold, that very next day when I checked the mail, there was a check in there for me for just kind of like something that I had done like a while ago and forgotten about, but at the time I really, really needed it. So that dream was definitely a message that everything was going to be all right.
Okay, so one time I had fallen asleep and I had like just gotten into like kind of a little argument, discussion, whatever, with my fiance at the time. And I had just had a baby who was probably about 6 months old at the time. I had fallen asleep and I remember I woke up in my dream to my ex and my oldest son coming into the room, and I was annoyed still because I felt like it was real. And I'm like, can you get out? Like, I just want to sleep. Can you get out the room? So my son comes over, he gives me a kiss, and he runs out the room with my fiance, and they close the door. When he does that, I roll over. I'm facing my window now. My back is to the door, and I look at my phone. So at the moment, it's pitch black in the room. But I'm sorry, I'm like picking my son up from school, so we're driving. At the moment, it's pitch black in my room. So I go to pick up my phone, and instead of my phone lighting up, which in my dream, which I think, like I said, is real, instead of my phone lighting up, my phone stays black when I pick it up and look at it. And when I look at my phone, I see an even blacker shadow standing behind me, like looking at me, looking at it through the phone. And in that instant, I instantly went into sleep paralysis. Like my body instantly just stopped. Like I couldn't fucking move. So I'm sitting there like, oh my God. And then I feel my baby, who was sleeping behind me at the moment, I feel him laying across my side, and I hear and feel him breathing like, but this is a 6-month-old baby, and I know for one that he's not on me. So I kid you not, I instantly started saying my prayers. I'm like, Father, I come to you in Jesus' name. I pray, please forgive me of my sins. Oh my gosh, please protect me, Father God. After that, I
I snapped out of it. Like, I snapped out of it. I popped the hell up. I went into the living room with my fiance. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that was, but that shit was terrifying. He's like, what the hell? He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, no. I'm not going back in there until you come down and lay down with me. And what's crazy is, when I was younger, I used to have really bad night terrors, right? And that shit just makes me remember, because I feel like I, like, locked that shit away. It just makes me remember all the scary shit. Like, I used to wake up and I couldn't control myself, but it's like I was watching myself, right? And one time I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I just started bawling. I'm crying my eyes out, because when I looked in the mirror, it was not me. Like, it was not my face. And I remember looking and seeing somebody completely different. It was not me. Like, I used to wake up and I remember, like I said, I could see myself. It's like I'm astral projected in a sense. And I swear to you, I used to do that shit. But, like, I used to get up and be screaming, just screaming, and they couldn't stop me. And I remember one time my family was, like, playing cards or something, and I had got up and I stood in the doorway and watched them playing cards. I stood there, I looked at them looking at me, and I can't control myself because I'm watching myself. And they're like, somebody was like, here she goes again, or something like that. And I just start screaming and crying, and I'm looking at myself like, what the fuck? Like, it was so weird. It was so crazy. I used to just go through so much shit that I didn't know what it was. But that's my story.
The reason why I started doing this compilation today is because I had sleep paralysis yesterday, and I feel like it took me so long to move my body. Like, if you experience sleep paralysis, when it first starts to happen, sometimes you can't move at all, but sometimes you can kind of move. Like, maybe you can move your head or your neck, or at least for me, I can, like, try to move my head or my neck, and I know it's about to happen, and I try to get the rest of my body to move. And so that's what happened to me yesterday. But then after I tried to move my head a little bit and try to get up, I couldn't, and I just, like, couldn't move at all. So I'm just praying, and I started to get mad because I'm like, Lord, you don't hear me calling? And then finally, like, it's such a horrible experience.
Okay, so I've been enjoying these TikTok videos about, like, a scary experience that happened to you but nobody would believe you. And so this one's about a dream. So just to make it quick, like the beginning before. So I went to, back in 2019, I went to Honduras with my husband to go fix some papers. So I took my daughter, because that's his dad. But then I also have a son. So I didn't take my son because my son has a different dad. And it wouldn't be fair for me to take him, and he doesn't even speak Spanish. So he stayed, right? So now we didn't think it shouldn't have taken that long. But I was there for 7 months, and then I came back in February of 2020 with my daughter to file my taxes, and I decided to stay just because, again, my son's here, and I feel like 7 months was already too long. Even though he did want to go visit, he was over there, he had fun. But again, okay. So then when I got here, I obviously didn't have anything because I sold my stuff, so I didn't have a bed or anything. So I moved in with my sister. She had 2 couches that we put them together and we made a bed. So that's that, right? We stayed there. And my husband, or I'm not sure if anyone knows, but Honduras is it's a dangerous place. So we were always like, hey, be careful. Like, me and my husband, like, be careful because, right? And a lot of things were happening, a lot of, like, dangerous stuff. His life was, like, being threatened and all that. So I was going through it, we were going through a lot of stuff. And my mom was like, hey, well, I know this person that I've been going to, like, she's not dangerous, or let me just say, so I've always liked playing witches. I like watching, like, scary movies, anything that in that nature. I enjoy it, right? The Exorcist movies, all that stuff, right? I enjoy it, but I don't believe in our you will never, don't say never, but the people that, like, they read the palms of the hands, and then the curanderos, and people that have, like, powers that they can heal you or all that stuff, because I believe that no one should be above God or be next to, like, the same range of how God was, right? Or Jesus, how Jesus was.
Nothing against people that believe that, nothing against people that have the power to heal and all that stuff. This is just more of me, that no one should be above God, right? So she told me, let's go. And then because I was going through so much stuff, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. So I ended up going with her, and the lady, like, she prayed for me. She gave me like a cleanse, like with hierbas and all that stuff, and nothing that I was like, what, no, it's just a praying. She cleaned you, and she gave me a bracelet of Jesus Christ. So right, okay, I ended up going home. I went to sleep. I had a dream, but in that dream, whenever I go to sleep, the way I like sleeping is like I like covering my face, right? The sheet with the sheets. So I covered my face with the sheets, and right when I was like covering my face, a white porcelain doll, it looked like a white face, black eyes, came towards me. I took it off, and then I had my daughter next to me, and she was like kind of like whimpering, like kind of crying in her sleep, but she was asleep and I was asleep. Did I have a dream, or did it happen for real? So I kind of like tried to soothe her, and I started praying. I prayed, right? But I took that as a sign that what I did was not okay. Like I took it that God sent this sign to me that wasn't okay what I did. So again, respectfully to anyone, I'm not trying to offend anyone else, but for me, I took it as in what I did was wrong. So I'm never gonna do that again. It's just something scary that happened to me. Again, I don't know if it was for real, it was a dream. I don't know. I don't know, but yeah.
Go listen to her story. That was intense. But my dream, it's not that kind of dream. I had a dream of the future. All right. I dreamt a day when I was really young that I lived when I was much older. Okay. And here's the story. So I woke up one morning, like any other morning. Well, let me tell you the dream first. So in the dream, I woke up. I was in a new house. I was in a new neighborhood. There were new people. There were new things just right off the rip. Me and a buddy, I go across the street. There's a buddy I met in this new neighborhood. Go across the street, and I'll go from there, right? So I wake up that morning, and I feel something feels off, right? I don't know what it is. And mind you, I'm not thinking that I'm living this dream that I had years and years ago. All right. So I'm going about my morning, right? And I'm starting to like get an ominous feeling, like everything just seems like it's like that feeling of deja vu, right? But it's consistent from the moment I wake up to current, right? So I'm like going about my day, getting ready, all this stuff. And it just, something just feels off the whole time, right? I decided I'm gonna just go outside. I don't know why today feels weird, but I'm gonna go outside, right? I go outside, I go to my friend Billy's house. I'm talking to Billy. I'm like, hey, Billy, you want to go see Aunt? We can go hang out at Aunt's house. He's like, all right, cool, let's go hang out with Aunt. We start heading out. As we're heading out, I'm starting to realize things like, I've seen this before. I've seen all this before. Not because I moved to this neighborhood and I walked around some, but because I've been in this exact moment before. And I start realizing, like, this is something I've seen before. And I'm like, yo, it's a yellow car about to drive past. I randomly said that. And a yellow car drove past, and my friend Billy's like, yo, how'd you know a yellow car was about to drive past? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I lived this day before. Like, this isn't my first time in this day. Like, I feel like I dreamt it maybe. And that's when it started clicking in my head. Like, I feel like this was a dream I had a long time ago. So we're still walking. We didn't stop or nothing. We're walking to my friend Ant's house, right? So we get to Ant's house. And before we even go on Ant's porch, I stop Billy, and I'm like, Billy, his sister Yaz is going to answer the door, and she's going to tell us Aunt went to some white girl's house. He's not home. And we're going to leave. So we decide, okay, cool. He doesn't know what I'm talking about. But he's like, all right, whatever. We knock on the door. Aunt's sister Yaz knocks on the door. Aunt's not here. He went to some white girl's house. So we step off the porch, we're about to head back home, and we're talking about it like, that was weird. Like, how'd you know she was going to say that? Whatever, whatever. And I stopped because now it just, like, it all clicked. I'm just like, wow, I really had this dream years ago. And I'm telling him that. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I dreamt this day. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, watch this. I'm going to go knock on that door and Ant's going to answer the door. The door that his sister just said he's not there because he went to some white girl's house. So I'm like, all right, I'm about to go knock on the door. I knock on the door. Ant answers the door. At this point, Billy's freaking out. I'm starting to panic, like, what's going on? Ant's at the door just confused. And I'm just like, yo, we're out, bro. Billy's like, yo, I'm going home, bro. Like, I don't know what's going on, but this is weird. This is weird. Now, mind you, Billy was a really religious person. I don't know if this has anything to do with that, but me predicting things might be upsetting to him or something. I'm not sure. I just know we both start freaking out, and Ant's like, what's going on? And we're like, I'm trying to explain to him, like, everything that's happening, but I'm also, like, starting to panic because I'm literally predicting everything that's happening this day. So we end up saying, like, Billy's like, no, I want to go home because I don't feel comfortable right now. I don't feel comfortable outside right now. And I'm like, yeah, I don't either. Even though I'm the one predicting this stuff, this doesn't feel right. So we just tell Aunt bye, we leave, go back home. Like, we walk home, and I don't think anything happened after that, but I knew it still felt like what was going on in that dream. I don't remember too much after that point because that was like the main point of like the peak of the dream and the peak of the day. So I get home and I just like, I go lay down and that was it. That's it. So yeah, that's the dream I had that I don't think was a dream. I think it was a vision of the future. And then it happened.
I love this story. I had heard about this before, and I've heard a few people talk about being in dreams and letting other people know in the dream, like when you're conscious in your dream and you're aware that you're dreaming, letting them know that you're aware and how you shouldn't do that. So this dream started it all. If I can find other ones, I'll create another compilation of it. But essentially, if you're conscious in your dream, not to let other people around you know. I don't remember if they said like you can't ask the time or the day or things like that. I've definitely had dreams where I knew that I was dreaming and I've been conscious and I just like try to take it all in and try to remember as much as I can when I wake up. But let's hear her story of the time she let everyone in her dream know that she knew it was a dream.
I was just lucid in a dream and I told everyone I knew I was dreaming. I was like, I know I'm dreaming. I know I'm dreaming. You know I'm dreaming. And this guy, because we were in like a classroom setting, like learning how to model or whatever, he was like, and I was like, I know I'm dreaming. Everyone knows. And he was like, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. And I just like, I was like, and then like descended out of the dream into like my preferred dreamscape. But like I thought someone was gonna attack me at first, and then when like no one attacked me, I just went crazy.
Yes. I lucid dream a lot, and I can control it a lot of the times. And I had seen one of these videos. This girl was telling her experience about asking if she was in a dream, and I was telling myself I have anxiety. I was like, I'll never do that. I would never want that attention in a dream. But so for some reason, when I'm in a dream, I'm bold. Like I don't care what I do because it's a dream. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna just ask and see. So I automatically run outside because I'm in this mansion already, eating crab because that's what I wanted to do in my lucid dream. Mind your business. But I go up to this car and I go up to the girl. There's a passenger and a driver, and I go up to them and I'm like, hey, you know this is a dream, right? You know we're dreaming. And the look they give me, oh my gosh, and they just drive off. So I go to another couple that's walking on the sidewalk, and I'm like, you guys know this is a dream, right? It was like I was talking to dead people, like, and they just kept scattering and scattering. I don't get
Y'all, that's crazy. Let me know in the comments below if you experienced anything like this. But here's the dream I wanted to tell you all. When I was about in 7th or 8th grade, my siblings and I, we would always go to our church because they had after school programs that we attended. So I remember me and my younger brother would walk together. I would meet him at the bus stop. We would walk together to go to church. So my church now, it was on the main road. It's now a CVS, but across the street was a KFC. And in the dream, I don't remember what happened before this part, but this was the main part of the dream. In the dream, I am walking with him and we're approaching the CVS, and I see this couple across the street in front of my church, and I immediately knew that they were like looking at us, like kind of watching us. But one thing I noticed about them, they looked completely out of place. It's like everything else in the dream was filled with color, but they were like in black and white. And the clothes that they had on and how they just seemed to me in the dream, they did not look like they fit. Like in the place, in the time, like they just did not look right for the setting. And I knew that they were gonna try to do something to us. So I was walking on the outside and I grabbed my little brother's hand because I instantly felt like a kind of fear. And where the church was, so on the main road, there's a main door, but you have to go around and to the back in the parking lot to enter where we were gonna go to our after school programs. So I remember they were like approaching us and they were gonna try to snatch him away and like basically kidnap him. And I remember just grabbing his hand. I was like, come on, Dwayne, let's run. So we like ran around and got into the church. And I don't remember what happened after that, but there was more to the dream. And then within a week, it was definitely like a few days later, but within a week when we were going back in the same setting, same time of day, I remember seeing the couple that I saw in my dream across the street. And the second I saw them, I instantly remembered the dream, and I knew that they knew I knew who they were. And I did the same thing I did in the dream, grabbed his hand, and we ran and went. And I was like, I just prayed and I was like, thank you, God, because I knew in my heart that they meant us harm, and what happened in the dream could have possibly happened in real life. So thank you all for watching. Please share any stories you have. I love hearing about dreams, and I'm sure we can share some tidbits. But I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next video.